Welcome to the eCommerce Badassery Podcast, the place for scrappy entrepreneurs who want to learn actionable steps and strategies to grow the traffic, sales, and profit in your e-commerce business. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster, a 20-year retail veteran and former brick-and-mortar boutique owner who spent 3 years as the only employee of a 7-figure online store. That shit was crazy. I know exactly how it feels to do all the things, and I'm sharing everything I learned the hard way so you don't have to. I may have started this business by accident, but supporting badass bosses like you lights me the fuck up, and I am so stoked to see you grow. Are you ready, babe? Let's roll. Welcome back to the eCommerce Badassery Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster. One of the most common questions I get about Black Friday weekend and Q4 in general is whether or not you should update your email automations to reflect your current promotions. The truth is, while this seems like a no-brainer, my answer to this question is the same as it was in 2022, the last time I answered this on the podcast, and that is, if you have time. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, your email automations can't do their job if you don't have people running through them. So I'd much rather you spend whatever time you have marketing your business, sending campaigns, getting everything dialed in. Plus, for just a few days of Black Friday weekend, is it worth the effort to temporarily update your automations just to have to go back and undo everything? In my old day job, we didn't bother. The BFCM deals we ran were way better than anything offered in our flows. And most of our new signups were happening at checkout, not through our pop-up form. People landed on the site, saw the promo front and center, and didn't even care about the welcome discount because the Black Friday deal blew that out of the water. And since discounts couldn't be combined and they both had a time limit, it made more sense to let the promo speak for itself. That said, if it still feels important to you, here are a few quick and easy ways you can update your automation strategy to amplify your Black Friday messaging. Of course, the most obvious is to add Q4 specific sections to your emails. If you're using Klaviyo, one of the tools you have that I didn't because it didn't exist back then is universal content. These are sections that can live in multiple emails, but only need to be updated in one place, and then those updates will be reflected everywhere you use that section. At a minimum, you should be using universal sections for your header and footer, but you might also have one for your rewards details or a promotional kicker that you regularly update with what's new or what you're featuring at the moment. If you don't already have these, now is a great time to get that updated. Then you can update your header with information about your Black Friday sale. You can promote double rewards days in your rewards block. And you can use the promotional section to highlight your gift guide or anything else seasonally specific you want to highlight. This is a great strategy to use all year long to make sure your automations are up to date without needing to give them a full overhaul. Now, of course, this is a Klaviyo specific feature, but that doesn't mean only Klaviyo users can take advantage of this strategy. I would check the documentation of your email platform to see what's possible. For example, Drip has something called snippets that work similarly. If you don't have universal content, then it might be worth it to add promotional content to your most received emails like your abandonment flows. I wouldn't go crazy here, just add a little section toward the top of your email to remind people about the details of the promotion, including the expiration date and time. You'll want to set a calendar reminder to remove it, but having the expiration in there should help just in case there's a little overlap. Again, I would only do this in your abandonment emails since they'll be the most sent during this time. If you're worried about people going through your regular welcome series and getting confused about the mismatch in promotions, you could always turn off your pop-up form. Sure, you'll still have your footer form and maybe even a landing page, but those tend to get much less visibility than your pop-up form. As I mentioned earlier, you likely won't have as many people signing up through that pop-up as you think you will, but if it's something you're worried about, I totally understand. If turning your pop-up off scares you, you could always create a new pop-up that gets added to a different list, so you can easily trigger a separate welcome flow that just reiterates the Black Friday deal. If you use product feeds in your emails, for example, your win-back flow or even your welcome, you might want to update those feeds to ensure they include your holiday-specific items. This will be most important for bestseller feeds because with such a short selling window, it's unlikely any of your seasonal specific items will break into the top of your bestseller list, and so they're not going to get featured in those feeds. If you're using Klaviyo, it's probably easier to update the conditions of the feed itself so that it will update in any email that's using it. So instead of using the bestseller condition, you just use the new arrivals condition. This way, you don't have to edit any of the emails, you're just editing the feed. And then once the season is over, you go back to using the bestseller conditions. If your email platform doesn't have separate product feeds that you can create and manage outside of the actual email, you might just want to go in and manually change what is being featured in key flows like your win-back or welcome. All that said, at the end of the day, the most impactful thing you can do is just make sure your emails are optimized for maximum conversion. Sure, holiday-specific updates are nice, but it's not necessarily the best use of your time, especially when you have more modest traffic numbers. Like I said, we didn't bother updating our flows at my previous gig, and we had upwards of 50,000 visitors per month to our website. Now, I've already done a bunch of episodes on email optimization, so I'm not going to talk about that here, but I'll be sure to put links in the show notes for you if this is something you want to tackle before the thick of Q4 hits. So, what are your next steps? First, review the email optimization episodes that I'm going to share with you. Let's just make sure you've got your flows in tip-top shape before you think about making additional edits. If you're inside the eCommerce Badassery Vault, that's my circle community, just search benchmarks. There's a post in the free resource library that breaks down flow benchmarks by industry. It's a super handy way to see how your automations compare to others in your space. And if you're using Klaviyo, don't forget they've got in-platform benchmarks too. These are even more accurate than the general numbers because Klaviyo measures you against businesses with similar revenue, list size, and sending habits. Both of these tools will give you a better sense of how your flows are performing and if they need a little TLC. If you're not already part of the EB Vault, head to ecommercebadassery.com/free stuff to sign up. Second, if you're using Klaviyo or a platform that has a universal section feature and you haven't implemented that yet, please go do that first. And then lastly, if you've got all of that done and everything else Q4-wise is ready to go, then you can think about making some of these holiday-specific edits. And if you're hearing all this and thinking, that sounds great, but I haven't even finished my Q4 strategy yet, well, don't worry, I got you. Go to ecommercebadassery.com/holiday podcast to catch my holiday playlist. It's got all my holiday-specific podcast episodes there. And you can get your hands on my Q4 strategy resources to help you plan and promote your business this holiday season. The most important thing I want you to remember, and this is for everyone, is that especially in this year, 2025, the most important thing you can do is keep things simple and put the majority of your energy into getting visibility on your business. And that, my friends, is a wrap on this week's episode. Make sure to check the show notes for links to everything we talked about today, other episodes, resources, etc. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you on the flip side. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you want to learn more about growing your e-commerce business, get started with my free resource library at ecommercebadassery.com/free stuff and get an invite to the lounge, my e-commerce marketing membership. When you're ready for one-on-one support, apply to work with me at ecommercebadassery.com/apply. Before you go, would you do me a quick favor? Leave a rating and review and tap that follow button. This pushes me up the chart so I can support more scrappy e-commerce entrepreneurs just like you. I'm on a mission to reach as many as I can, and I could really use your help. Thanks so much in advance. Until next time, e-commerce friend, stay badass.